Hello everybody, it is me again. So the lovely folks over at C2E2 sent me a few interview questions a couple of days ago, and I was looking through them and there's some really good questions in there. So I decided I wanted to do like a proper video so that I could talk through my answers in a little bit more detail. But yeah, there's some toughies. I was looking through them, trying to think of like what my answers could be beforehand, and yeah, I'm excited to chat about these. So without further ado, let's dive into the first question. Way back when I was in university, we had this kind of big fancy dress party that we would have every semester as part of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Society, which I was obviously a member of. Everyone would dress up in fancy dress, and each time they kind of got more and more elaborate, and it was really inspiring because I was never a kid that did fancy dress. I was always a bit scared of it and the lack of budget that I had, and then I finally got this excuse to go a bit crazy with it, and I took it. So one semester I decided I wanted to do an Avatar: The Last Airbender costume, and I just Googled it to see if somebody had already done a costume that I could copy. And yeah, this whole world of cosplay just kind of popped up, and it was so inspiring and incredible that I kind of fell headfirst into it, and then my costumes got a lot more elaborate, needless to say. I think this is a pretty normal story, but it means a lot to me actually. Before I started cosplaying, I was really self-conscious and actually super shy. I've always struggled with like my appearance, and I, like a lot of people, got quite badly bullied in school. So yeah, cosplay has brought me into contact with these incredible, inspiring people who have become such close friends, and even family. And yeah, they've really taught me a lot about my worth and my talent, and inspired me to kind of achieve everything that I have. So yeah, I'm forever grateful for that aspect of this crazy hobby. You know, I wouldn't be the person that I am today without them. So that was an emotional interlude. I promise the next answer won't be so soppy. So I try not to get too hung up on mistakes because, you know, I make them every single day. Thankfully, they're usually quite easily fixable, and they're a really great chance to learn. But, story time. So, the kind of biggest mistake someone has made about my cosplay. So there was this big event in London, and it was kind of this, it was organised by HarperCollins, and it was this like book reading conversation evening with George R.R. Martin and Robin Hobb. And they wanted a load of cosplayers to come along and kind of keep the crowd entertained when they were in the queue. So we got free tickets, and we got to kind of chill out there. But we also kind of were there in an official capacity. So after the event happened, we got invited to come back and meet George R.R. Martin and have a chat to him and Robin Hobb. And it was really lovely, and we got this incredible photo. And then as I was walking away, George R.R. Martin grabbed my hand and he pressed this Brafosi coin into it, you know, the one of the faceless man, and he whispered to me, "Remember, stick 'em with the pointy end." which is a great story. It's fantastic. I was so like, okay, thank you. Until you consider the fact that I was not cosplaying Arya. I was cosplaying Nira Reed. Who, she's a secondary character, but like, she's in it. Like, she's not just like an NPC. But yeah. So, a very cool story. Went from like 9 to like a 3. I think looking at all these competitions and these huge builds can be really, really daunting for a lot of new cosplayers. But I mean, we all start somewhere, and I primarily learned from my grandma, actually. She was a sewing teacher, and when I was little, she really kind of wanted to pass on the torch, so we did a lot of like little sewing projects whenever I saw her. And personally, I think that that is a really great way of learning kind of the first steps of cosplay and just of sewing in general. We all have a relative or a friend or a friend's relative who is really excited and interested in sewing and has a lot of knowledge that usually they're super enthusiastic to pass down. And like, it's a great way to learn those basics with someone helping you through it, and not having to make those silly little mistakes that we all do when we're self-taught. It's also just such a lovely way to spend time with someone, and like, once you have that finished costume, you can look at it and go, this is something I made with my grandma, my dad, my friend. So like, I would 100% recommend just like sitting someone down and being like, teach me. Tris. It was such an amazing experience making that costume. I think because the costume required so many skills that I probably wouldn't have developed otherwise. The main bodice particularly is all leatherworking, and I've gotten really excited about working with leather ever since. It took about 250 hours, maybe more. So yeah, and about half of that was the tooling in the front of the bodice, which was an awful lot of work, but I talked to the amazing people at Tandy Leather in Manchester, and they gave me a crash course in the tools and the materials to use, and like working with those experts in their fields and the work that they do every day and learning from them was amazing. And I also like learned a great deal about historical fabrics and patterns. I really love the sort of research process of a cosplay. I think it's a thing that a lot of people forget, but it's one of the most involved processes. Is like the Witcher costumes are so inspired by kind of medieval and Elizabethan fashion, and we wanted to bring as much of that into our cosplays as possible. So we've researched kind of historically accurate materials and shapes and patterns, and that's one of the most fulfilling parts of cosplay for me, especially as like a historian myself. I find it super interesting. I initially made Tris with my best friend, Wood Smoke and Words cosplay. Tilda and I absolutely loved the costume designs of The Witcher because they're so detailed and like textural, and we really wanted to make them together as well. They fell absolutely in love with Yennefer and her design, and well, I wanted to make every single costume, so it was kind of a perfect fit. So yeah, we teamed up on these ridiculously involved projects. I mean, I particularly fell in love with Triss because she showcases so many sewing techniques and heritage crafts. And personally, I find sewing heavy projects like really challenging, but like extremely rewarding. And I think oftentimes they don't get hugely represented in competitions because it's quite a small costume. It's not kind of big and flashy. So a lot of people kind of shy away from those projects in like global competitions. So yeah, my costume for the finals is definitely going to be in that same spirit. And I can't wait to show you more about it. I don't want to be here all evening listing the thousands of geeky things that I am into. I think the one thing that has taken over my life for the past 6 or 7 years is Dungeons and Dragons. I feel like anyone who gets into that hobby just falls headfirst into it. There's no coming out. But also video games. I love open world RPGs, obviously. Witcher, Fallout New Vegas. I spent a long time at university playing Skyrim, except I didn't play any of the quests, because that will be obvious. Instead, I just kind of like lived in that shack just outside of Falkreath, and I hunted goats. And that was it. Which I feel like when you're writing academic essays, you just need an alternate life where you hunt goats and nothing else. But yes, also books and TV shows and movies, lots of Lord of the Rings, lots of Star Wars. I feel like there's just not enough hours in the universe to watch everything that we want to watch, but there's some of it. So if all has gone according to plan, hopefully my social media information should be popping up on the screen right now. It involves wrangling my video editing software, and that is not always a given. But yeah, it's been so much fun answering all these questions. Like I said, some of them were tough, but it's been fun kind of chatting through them. And I hope that you've enjoyed. If you've stuck around for this long, then thank you very much. And I cannot wait to share some of the progress for my finals costume and hopefully meet some of you in America. All have wonderful evenings, and see you soon. Bye!